Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. And today I have Spencer Davis here with me. And sorry for my dark camera. I'm on vacation right now. There's not like a place with good lighting or anything like that. But Spencer Davis here. When did you join the program, Spencer?
It was just over a year ago, so it would have been last November. So yeah, I'm
Yeah,
just outside of 13 months now.
almost. So over the 1 year anniversary mark. So Spencer here, I picked his interview because he also, just like any of the interviews I do, has a very interesting story to where things were quite hopeless for you and things seemed to be quite dire, both on what you thought was hopeless and what your partner thought was hopeless as well. And on top of that, you had so many other people in your relationship, in your life, trying to tell you there's no hope here as well. I mean, all the signs that there's no hope was there, but yet you two have not only reconciled, but she's literally bragging about you to all her friends, and her friends are sick of it, right? So let's paint a picture here for the audience of what your relationship was like before you found the program a year ago.
Right. It was rough. So we had been married almost 10 years, coming up on. In fact, before everything came to a head, we were coming up on our 10-year anniversary, and think of the most toxic relationship you can, and that's pretty much where we were at. So small arguments turned into giant mountain-like fights. The communication was minimal. Our quality time was minimal. There was no affection. There was no "I love yous." There was no waking up to morning coffee, rubbing each other's feet. It was really just like a cold partnership living under the same roof. Um, Sex was a chore for her, and
Hmm.
I was always wanting it in her view, and it was just a pain, and she wasn't feeling it. It was just uh, everything was wrong. And so I quickly would victimize myself, and I told my buddies, I'm over this and I need to get out and this and that. And she's this, she's a narcissist, or she's selfish, and she was obviously brought up wrong or whatever it may have been. But we'd sit around beers all night and talking about how awful she was. And that just created this negative feedback loop, which just pulled us further and further and further apart. And then eventually it all came to a head last October.
Yeah. So it's almost like, because you're a pilot, as I understand, right? And I can imagine you and your buddies too in a bar just talking about how there's no sex, talking about how there's no communication, talking about how unhappy you are. And all the guys are like, hey, you can do better, man. You know?
They're all saying that. And oh, look at
Yeah.
her over there. And, I know a number to a great divorce attorney. And, it's probably time because you're getting to the 10-year mark. And, oh, that's a big deal according to the law. None of that mattered in hindsight. But at the time, yeah, I was just focused on I'm the victim. I got to protect myself. And ultimately things came to a head, and she left. And she was out the door. She picked up, she moved in a girlfriend's house. She was paying her rent. We were passing the kids back and forth. When I was home, I'd have the kids. When I went to work, she'd take the kids, but she was living exclusively at the other address. It was bad. And that would go on for about five months.
Mm.
Now, in that time, I found you in the program, but it was a long time, and yeah, I just didn't know what to do with myself. So I started scouring the internet, looking for answers, YouTube videos, and man, you would not believe all the channels out there on this very topic, and
Yeah.
most of it is are videos that are just helping you feel better, giving you short-term gains. I want to think they all mean well, but most of it is, yes, you're a victim. You're probably married to a narcissist, or you need to get out, or women are toxic, and always this cycle always repeats. So
Yeah, it's a lot of blaming. But I want to go back into so your partner left, um, and you had to pass the kids back and forth. That's a massive ordeal. There's minimal contact, and at some point too, um, she also began seeing someone else as well, because she, in her mind, this relationship is over. Like, she's done with this relationship.
Yeah.
So she started seeing someone else too, and you guys were separated for a good 5 months,
Right. Right.
right?
So yeah, that went on. I didn't know about that. I was worried about that happening, but I wouldn't find that out till we got back together, and she
Mm,
came clean. And the reason she came clean is because I had been able to turn the environment around thanks to the program, and she felt safe kind of sharing that with me, and also sharing that she had ended it. But yeah, that was going on. I kind of wondered if that kind of thing was going on while we were apart, but while you're working on the program, it, it does kind of prepare you for that possibility that something like that could happen, and
mm.
that's what happened.
Yeah, yeah. So talk about your relationship now. Obviously, you're over a year into the program now. So you went from a position where she left, no sex, no communication, small conversations about small topics turned into big conflicts. And later on, we're also going to talk about how, there was not only this smaller conflicts, but also the bigger conflicts, like you can't even talk about having more kids together. That
Right.
was a big sensitive point for you guys as well.
Yes.
So you were there. She left. She was seeing someone else. You guys were separated. You were passing kids back and forth. To describe it now.
Okay, well now we're 180 degrees from where we were. You wouldn't even recognize the relationship right now. Um, so I can just tell you, even last night, the way we have conversations about things that could end up being volatile and leading to an explosion in the past. Today, today I listen. Today I take in what she has to say. And I get her talking, and I ask more questions. I want to understand her point of view. And I think a lot of what this program's about is making her feel safe sharing these things with you, because as you teach, if she can't express the important things, or even the small things,
Yeah,
there's no way you can deal with the large things.
the bigger things.
So we communicate well. She misses me when I go to work. She looks forward to my return. We text each other. She sends me dirty pictures via text all the time. I mean, it's great. It is a totally different relationship. But
But give me the
again,
milestones here, Spencer. Like,
yeah,
so I heard you say in the first 5 months, I think she started to see, or the first few months, she started to see inklings of your changes. But of course, there was a bit of resistance there to say, is this real or not? Give me the progression of milestones, because
sure.
you had a lot of milestones. And I remember catching up to your story and I was like, wow, he went through a lot of ups and a lot of downs, a lot of resistance to get to where he is today.
Right. Yeah, I sure did. So to start, when I found your videos on YouTube, I pulled the trigger on the program. I thought this is the best way to go, and I've got to try something different than what everyone else is telling me to do. And right away, just after the first phase of the program, which took me about 2 weeks to get through, she noticed immediate changes. So our contact was minimal, but she would come over, maybe passing the kids back and forth, and we'd communicate. And I would start using what little tidbits I learned from the program, but mostly it was just getting her to talk, getting her to listen, getting her to feel comfortable and safe, and not having to worry about any statements or judgments coming from me. So she commented that you seem really different. I mean, early on, she felt like that. So that kind of encouraged her to dip her toes a little bit further into the water over time. And then she would come back, and then I might pop in with it. Do you want to hang out and have a drink real quick? And sure, yeah. And so we'd sit down and we'd have a drink, and that would allow me to, again, they weren't tactics. It was just kind of me changing my mindsets and using what, you call the frameworks,
Yep.
to kind of get to have her feeling a lot safer than she had been in the past. So eventually we had a Thanksgiving together, we had a Christmas together. Everything was gradually getting better and better and better. But as you know, these things aren't linear. And so eventually, to me, the program might have plateaued a little bit, or I plateaued, and I started focusing.
Yeah.
I want the outcome. When is she going to come back in? And and I just started. I got myself into a vicious cycle,
Yep.
which is exactly what you say could happen if you're not working on the program. And it was when I would pull back from the program that these, bad things would kind of manifest themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
So eventually, and I started looking back on other websites and stuff, and I quickly realized that was all just crap. I mean, there's just so much junk out there, and it's all toxic. It's all blaming and self-victimization, and it just brings you no gains. So I quickly got my act together within a week or two, and started working back on the program right where I left off, and started climbing the mountain. Eventually, again, it wasn't linear, but she would come visit more and more. We'd spend more time with each other, more conversations, more talking, healthier conversations, and just overall creating a better environment, which made her want to learn more about where these changes are. And I think what kind of sold her on me was she started feeling these changes weren't a tactic or just a short-term gimmick. Like,
because it was so consistent too. It was so consistent. You had that 1 week lapse, but besides that, it was so consistent that it's like, I don't know what other alternative motivations Spencer has for making these changes. Like, I'm not coming closer, right? So if there's no ulterior motives here, the only thing I can believe is really, I think this is real.
No, it's exactly how she felt. And she just kept showing up. She just kept coming up, and I'd say, you want to go for a ride on the motorcycle? You want to go out and grab a drink? And so now we were starting to date again. She was still living at the other address, but we were doing more and more things together. We were spending time with our mutual friends together, but then she'd go back to the address. So I just had to be patient with her. And while I was being patient with her, I was working on myself and the program, and that always kept my head right. It kept me focused. I never got depressed when I was working on the program, because I knew there was a plan in place where things.
And I did remember in the middle, you kept asking like, "Hey, I'm doing everything great, but how come she's not coming back yet? When is she going to come back? When is she going to come back?" And I was saying, like, dude, if you have the perfect process, just wait. Like, just be consistent, and you will see.
That's absolutely what happened. The process has actually paid off, because it would be in, late February, early March. And I came back from work one day, and we were going to have one of our just little hangouts, have a glass of wine. And I walked in, and she's wearing her wedding ring. And that was just shocking to me, because it was just out of the blue. And she's like, yeah, I'm going to start wearing my wedding ring. I just, I think it's time we kind of sit down, and I need to get out of so-and-so's house, and I need to come back here. And you and
this was 5 months after joining.
It was exactly 5 months after joining.
Exactly 5 months.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so she put on her wedding ring. She said, like, hey, this guy I'm seeing, I'm not going to see him anymore. So did a part of you wonder, ooh, did she really end the relationship, or did she not? Like, a lot of people listening to this would say, I'm scared, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I'm scared she's going to just dump me for another guy again if she finds something better.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Quickly after she said that, only a few days later, she told me about the relationship, and it just didn't bother me. I was pretty confident in who I had become, that I knew I was smoking that guy, I know who he is, but
that's the beauty, right?
Yeah. It just, I wasn't worried about it. And I actually felt rewarded, or even vindicated, that she even felt like she could share that with me. She didn't even have to tell me about it. Her and her friends were so tight, I would have probably never found out. But the fact that she came clean, she gave me details. I asked a lot of questions, but in the end, it didn't bother me. Throughout the program, early on in the program, especially when I was lapsing early on, I was constantly worried that she's a good-looking woman, she's going to find somebody else. But no, I mean, 5 months into it, I knew who I had become. I was confident. I had the self-worth, self-efficacy,
Yeah.
self-esteem was all there. But all through the program, I knew I had a lot to offer, and I knew she knew that too. And I was and still am. I'm confident. So yeah, it
Yeah.
never bothers me. Is she thinking about so and so? It just doesn't even enter my head. It's weird.
Yeah, the analogy I often give, and I gave this before in one of my interviews too, is the iceberg analogy, or the ice cube analogy, right? You have a massive piece of ice cube in the room, and you're trying to melt it with a hair dryer,
Right.
right? And so you're like plugging in the hair dryer, you're heating up the room from -10 Celsius, -9, -8, but you don't see the ice melting. But you know from your conviction of the processes of the principles behind how heat works and everything like that, physics, science, that you know is going to melt eventually. It's the same thing here. It's like, I don't need the external validation from my partner all the time, because I know my processes will work. I know the cause and effect of relationships. And that's the most beautiful part to be in, where that's where we graduate from what we call failure success, where we say people who are successful, but they don't know how they got there. That's the worst kind of success. You can't sleep at night like that. You have
Absolutely.
entrepreneurs who are like that, who can't sleep at night. But if you have successful success, you know how to get success, and you know how to replicate that success every single day. That's the best feeling in the world, right? Like you sleep very soundly at night. And also, your partner is giving you a lot of external validation too.
Absolutely.
She
Absolutely.
like she's I remember the story that you told us one time. You're like, oh, she invited me to this pool party. There was a bunch of guys there, a bunch of girls there, and you were intimidated because, like, oh, what if there's another guy there that just like was just so much better than me or whatever. But you're like, no. Once you came in, she bragged about you.
Yeah. She's yeah. Yeah. And I want to say it's been the norm. And that's not to say, I don't want to say it's 100% bliss. We still have conflict and misunderstandings, but how we deal with those, there's no negative feedbacks loops. It always turns back into a positive win-win for both of us. And the benefit of this program is I know how to turn. I kind of became the leader in asking the right questions, asking better questions, getting her to feel safe, to share her feelings, and let's work on a solution together. Help me understand. But yeah, in the end, yeah, our
Yeah.
relationship is what it is because I value her wants, her needs, whatever they may be. They're all valid in my mind. So I'm
Well,
here to.
let's dive deeper about that. Let's talk about that concept of leadership for a bit. And I
Okay.
think that always begins with you avoiding what we call the victim mindset, which is where in the beginning you had this too. Everyone in the program has this too, where you see your partner not wanting to have sex, communicating in a bad way, just displaying behaviors that are not ideal in a relationship. But then instead of looking within to say, how am I contributing to this? You start to blame other people, to say like, oh, this is your fault. And it's impossible for someone to be a leader with that mentality, because it's just like you never blame yourself. It's never on you. It's always on other people. But that diagnosis is usually quite wrong. But let's start here with you avoiding the victim mindset. Like, what was the victim mindset like when you first started? Like, how did it manifest, and how did you slowly get away from that? What were the realizations you made, the things you did to get away from blaming your partner and to looking within?
Right. Well, the victim mindset was probably 8, 9 years in the making throughout the relationship, and it grew exponentially. So every year it was, you know, 4 times, 8 times what it was the previous year. And the way it looked is, oh, she's doing this with her friends, and she doesn't want to hang out with me, and she's not a good wife. Or uh, oh, she doesn't want to have a date night. Really? Okay. Gosh. Wow.
Yeah, I wish I found someone who could.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's other women out there that would definitely want to go out with me and, or spend Saturday night with me or want to be treated well, it was just all kinds of stuff like that. It was, oh, you're not in the mood. I just got home from my 3-day trip at work and we haven't seen each other. We should be having sex. Oh, and you're not in the mood? Gosh, I mean, and I was always pointing the finger at her.
And then
was
to
never
compound, I think also what happens is you try to talk about that. Oh, you're not in the mood? How come you're not in the mood? And she doesn't want to talk about it because there's no safety, obviously, because of the way you brought it up. I mean, if you bring up a topic and you're already blaming someone, they're not going to share things with you anymore. And then when they don't want to share, you probably go like, oh, we can't communicate. That's even worse now.
It's exactly
it's your fault. You can't communicate. It's your fault.
And she's very I would call her stonewaller. You're always stonewalling and gaslighting. I mean, it's just, you name it. I mean, it was just always me pointing the finger at her. And then I go hang out with my buddies and I tell them my perspective. And again, they all meant well, but they join me and, oh, let's bash on the wife. It's you might need to look somewhere else. I wouldn't tolerate that. I mean, it's just, it was bad. It was toxic, and I was always.
Yeah. So what made you stop that? I mean, it's such a tempting thing to do. It's such an easy thing to do, and it's an idea that's perpetuated in society quite a lot.
Absolutely.
So how did you get out of that?
Well, this program, ironically, actually, your YouTube videos to start, because you got a lot in there, and there's so much good information in those YouTube videos, and I can't believe they're just sitting there, for anyone to grab. It's not like you're just scratching the surface. I mean, there is some deep content in those YouTube videos, but once that's what quickly got me to pull the trigger on the program. But once I pulled the trigger on the program, one of the first things you teach is we're not going to be victims of our spouses, of our partners. We're not going to be attacking character, and we don't attack character because it just gives you no options when you do that. And so, fundamental attribution error, right?
That's that term. Yeah.
It's a big word for a pilot, but it's definitely out there. I would constantly blame her character over things that I was doing myself. Oh, she was talking to a guy at a party. That's bullshit, but yet I talk to women all the time. I enjoy attention from women too. It doesn't mean anything's going on, but there was a lot of that. And so the program kind of taught me that, and not kind of, but it did teach me that, as soon as you make yourself a victim, you're not going to get any gains. You can't fix things if you feel all you're dealing with are things out of your control. You can only control what you can control, and that's yourself. So I stopped looking
principally
at that.
Yeah, so I think principally you start to understand, usually what I hear from my clients too is when they take the program, they realize that when we describe the patterns of a relationship, either it's a positive pattern or a negative pattern, they go, oh shit, that is exactly my pattern. So they look at it and go, if that's exactly my pattern, my situation can't be that unique. And they start to see the people in the community, for example, avoiding the victim mindset, avoiding the fundamental attribution error, and they are getting insane results, right? Looking at other people too, and seeing the manifestation, seeing the evidence, seeing proof of here's what happens if you stop playing victim. Did that play a role?
Absolutely. Yeah. So for me, watching the videos and watching the program and focusing on how to block out those negative feedback loops, and knowing that the bad things that we were experiencing together in the relationship were a result of a bad environment, and that environment was brought on by a lot of the negative mindsets and the victimization that I was doing on myself, as well as attacking her character and her integrity and whatever else I could. And so once I figured out that these were the forces impacting the relationship that caused all this to begin with. You know, you quickly explain that here's how we turn those around. Here's some things we can do to change negatives into positives. And these are things that I do every day with her, with the kids now, with coworkers, friends, everybody. You know, and you know, we call them the mindsets and the frameworks, but you know, they're kind of tactics, but they're not manipulative at all. There are better ways.
It's a way of living. It's a way of being. It's
exactly.
It's like a personality difference that actually makes you happy and makes your partner happy, kind of thing. You know.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's what they did for me. And so my focus on learning those mindsets and frameworks, which is a huge part of the problem. It's just a massive portion of the program. Sorry, massive part of the program. They kind of got me so focused on that and changing me, which started creating positive loops between my wife and I. First, that small encounters, and then it would grow also exponentially in a good way.
So just to dive deeper into this positive loop, and this is something that people don't understand often. I'm going to throw in the word here of "it takes two to tango." That's a term that goes thrown out a lot, and you're the epitome again. And all my client interviews always are the epitome of people who believe now it doesn't take two to tango, because and here's why we say that, because you know, let's say you have you and your partner here, right? Right now, for a lot of you watching this, for a lot of people watching this, your partner does something that affects you, and what you do affects your partner back. And either you're perpetuating that cycle in a negative direction, or you're choosing to break that cycle. And whether you perpetuate or break that cycle, that's you. That's on you, right? You can do that. And so when we say like it doesn't take two to tango, meaning that you actually have a lot of power in influencing your partner's behavior, in influencing your partner's changes and what they do and so on.
Exactly.
And you're already doing it, whether you know it or not, whether you accept this idea that it takes two to tango or not, this feedback loop or not, whether you even are aware of it or not, you're already perpetuating or breaking loops, right?
That's right. We're untethering ourselves from our partner. Yeah. And
so that we can break this loop, so that we're not like when our partner goes down, we don't go down along with them, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so, you know, when it comes to this victim mindset thing and avoiding that victim mindset, a big part of it too, I think, is two things. One is, do you fundamentally believe that this is a character problem or an environmental problem, like you said? Right? Like, is my partner behaving this way because that's her character and she's crappy and I need to find another better person? Or is it like the environment has caused her eventually to resort to these kind of behaviors as well? And I think the biggest shift for a lot of people and a lot of my clients too is, and including you, I think here, is when you start to see your partner's behavior changing when you change yours.
Absolutely.
Right? That's when you start to believe like, okay, yeah, this is not a her problem. This is also a me problem. And once I change me, I change her, right? Tell me that journey for you.
So again, going back to untethering, you know, things that and I think my partner, and I'm sure a lot of people's partners do this too, is they kind of test, and either consciously or subconsciously, they throw out bombs and see how you're going to react to them. And you know, I used to always explode. I'd lose my shit, and we had a big mess and a big argument, and that just created more problems. Now, and especially going through the program, I want to say around the third, fourth month, I was very untethered from my wife. Actually, I tried as early as possible, but I think I was really succeeding about halfway through that 5-year stint of being separated. And she would still test. She would still drop that bomb. Say the kids, I've always wanted more kids, and we're kind of we have kids together, but I'm fixed. So what do we do? And so, hey, it used to be, what, you want more kids? Well, I can't have kids. So what, how selfish can we be? And it used to explode. Now, uh, okay, what is it about why do we want more kids? And look, I'm all for you having more kids. I am not going to stand in the way of you fulfilling that requirement to have kids, but let's break it down even further. Why do we want kids? I mean, we have two already. Why is it important to you? And she would explain, and we go back and forth, and I dig deeper and deeper and deeper, and these things are always so layered. But it was funny when you get down to the crux of it. The thing is never about the thing.
Yeah. I want to dive deep into that, because that's a big problem, I think, in today's society too. Of, if you came to a therapist even, or a counselor, and you said, I want kids, my wife doesn't want kids, most therapists would just say, dude, you should have talked about that before you got married.
Right.
It's like, I don't think you understand the deeper underlying motivations of why you want different things like that. And once you align on those deeper things, you are going to be very surprised as to the level of win-wins you can actually get. But I want to table that, Spencer, because I still want to keep talking about this victim mindset thing.
Okay.
Because in the middle of your 5-month separation there was a moment where you faltered away from the process a bit, right? And you did start to play victim a bit, to say, I don't know, this is maybe not me anymore.
Yep.
Again, when you faltered, that was when the evidence of your partner's behavior changing start to plateau.
Absolutely.
Again, it goes back into, like, I think in order for you to avoid the victim mindset, the first step is you need to not only theoretically understand the principles of what avoiding the victim mindset looks like, but also how to avoid it, what it leads to. But I think you need to see evidence of it. And when you surround yourself with the community and the people who are just like breaking the rules of relationships, often of what relationships are supposed to be like, breaking the rules of, let's say, blaming their partner as a narcissist, stonewall, or whatever it is, they're just not following any of that, but they're getting great relationships. You see the evidence of that. You just go, I'll be silly to not believe it. It's stupid.
Oh yeah. And yeah, I was just becoming very focused on the outcome, and I was getting impatient. And I felt like, oh, I'm the only one doing any work. I'm working on this program. I'm putting all my time, money, and energy into this program. And it had become my life at that point. We were, especially in the middle of COVID, there was nothing to do but work on myself in this program. So I felt I was doing everything, and she's doing nothing. So I kind of let myself fall into, I'm the only one that's lifting a finger to save the relationship.
Yeah.
But again, going back to it doesn't take two to tango. And, I'm also learning to become the leader of the relationship. I'm learning how to guide her back. And my positive actions will break feedback loops, will create new positive ones, and will bring her back into the relationship, which is exactly what happened, because that's exactly what you said would happen. And she came back. But yeah, I was victimizing. And whenever I victimize, I get support from YouTube videos, other channels. I got support from my friends who all meant well.
But then in our program, we were like, what are you doing? You're crazy. Don't be stupid.
Right.
Get out of here.
And you warn us of this. You warn that this is going to happen, and this can happen. Stay focused on this particular program, this mountain. And I strayed.
Yeah.
And it caused problems because, once I kind of strayed away from the program, immediately I wasn't my becoming self anymore. I was actually old Spencer, the guy that she was used to. And look, he hasn't changed. And yeah, it was a setback.
But let's concretize this for yourself, Spencer, right?
Yeah.
So now, is your partner affectionate now with you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like you wouldn't believe,
right?
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't believe. Does she reciprocate the effort in trying to grow and better the relationship?
Yes, she does. Always.
She does. Always.
Yeah.
Right. And does she communicate well?
Very well. Yeah.
Very well.
Yeah.
So what's funny again is like all these things that you were saying in the beginning about here's why we're not compatible, because we don't have the same sexual energies, maybe. We don't have the same styles of communication. We don't have the same personality. She's not reciprocating. It's a one-sided relationship. All that crap went away. You know, earlier this week, I received a text from someone who was actually considering the program. And after looking at his case, I was like, this is a slam dunk case. Like, this is easy. But then he texted me saying, like, I don't want to pay because we're not going to be a good fit for me and my partner. We're just not a good fit. I'm like, if only you knew. If only you knew what it could have been. I'm sorry.
My biggest takeaway to those guys, and I see it with my coworkers at work and my other friends who are having relationship problems, and is they don't know what they don't know. A lot of these guys just don't know what they don't know. And I didn't know everything, but I wish I had had this program 5-10 years ago. I wish in fact, my plan is to instill most of what we have in this program onto my son, who's 13. So he doesn't run into the pitfalls in his relationship. I mean, it just, you know, in today's society, especially, it's just, you know, the old ways don't work. The old paradigms and the way, especially us men, tend to think of relationships, it just doesn't fit anymore. And that's exactly what happened in my relationship. And
yeah,
this program actually fixed all that in just massive ways. Yeah, we had a great night. We went to dinner last night. We had a great conversation, affectionate. It was just, you know, I'm just sitting there and I have these epiphanies too. Like, gosh, this was never happening a year ago. I mean, 5 years ago, it wasn't happening, you know, and now look at us now. I mean, we're that couple that makes
you're proud of yourself. You're proud of yourself. You're proud of her. You're proud of us. You're proud to tell this to your son. You're proud to tell this to your friends. And it's like, what did I just discover? It's like a cheat code, you know, sometimes it's like, oh my God, like this is easy.
It really is. It is. You kind of hack the whole, you know, men versus women or relationship drama that is out there in society today, you know. And I watch these shows on Netflix or whatever, and they're about relationships, and I'm just like, gosh, these people all need to be in this program, you know. I mean, if this program was around, we'd have horrible TV shows, but I mean, relationships would be so much
no
help.
drama. No drama. Everyone's like, oh yeah, we discovered, we understood, we are finding win-wins, let's move on.
Exactly.
No keeping up with the Kardashians, anything like that.
TV would suck. Yeah. But
I want to touch on the second thing you said, which is also control does not equal power. And I think this has to do a little bit with what you said earlier about our preconceived notions of what it means to be a man, it means to be a leader in a relationship. Is kind of messed up. But tell me more about what you mean when you say control does not equal power.
Okay, so to contrast, I used to think, you know, power in the relationship was control. You know, I maybe not actively, but she's my wife. She should do whatever I say. You know, no, you're not wearing that outfit, or no, we're not going out here with those friends.
I think it's like assertiveness. Like we look at this videos about like the high value man, 1% man, whatever it is, and we hear like this quotes like, a man knows what he wants, a man knows what he stands for, and is not supposed to compromise on what he stands for, what he believes in, especially not let a woman do that, right? And it manifests itself in the obvious ways like, let me tell you, but also in the subconscious ways where whenever you do have differences, whenever you do have conflicts, whenever your partner does not want to have sex, for example, you go like, oh no, I'm a high value man, I don't deserve this.
Right. That was the wrong way of thinking, right? And so and I watched all those videos. I would see those guys with beards that look like massive men driving fancy cars, talking about how women are this and men are high value, and you need to be more high value and not deal with women who give you a bunch of shit, whatever. It was all bad. What I learned through this program and has only benefited our relationship since the moment I implemented it with my wife was power is not what we think it is. Power I learned is really, talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and that, what is control. To me, power is being able to, uh, gosh, I got to articulate this right. Power is tapping into my wife and understanding my wife's needs for self-fulfillment and self-actualization, right? That's the top tier of Maslow's
Exactly.
hierarchy of needs. And backing her up 100% and making sure she can accomplish whatever she wants, even if it's contrary to what maybe I was hoping for or I wanted. My value to her now is in giving her that self-actualization, that fulfillment she needs in everything. It doesn't matter if she's going out with her girlfriends or she wants to change her career, or if she, if she wants kids, whatever that may be. That's how I approach our relationship from that top tier of
and
the hierarchy.
I understand why you started a bit, because this is a very complex topic that people often misunderstand. Like, even when we're talking about power in this way, people always look at this and hear this and go like, you're trying to manipulate her. Then that's not what this is at all, right?
No, it's very
This
genuine.
is us basically, like, we're trying to be a good leader. Basically, we're trying to create an environment and a culture where your partner can abide by you, can
Right.
want to express herself to you, can want to listen to you, right? Whenever there's differences happening. And this desire to listen to you, this desire to express to you, does not come from an imposition where you tell her, you tell me what you think, you tell me that this is what we should do. But it's out of genuine desire from her side to want to do these things. It's almost like the difference between, yeah, if you look at a bad company, for example, right? A bad company, the leaders try to manipulate and impose themselves on their employees. And their employees might do the same things, right? They might do the things they're told to do. But if you look at a good company, the leader is still influencing the employees' behaviors. But the difference is that the leader knows how to influence the employees' behaviors in a way where the employees actually want to be bought into the philosophies, whatever it is. In both companies, the employees are still doing the same things.
Right.
The leader is still influencing, but the way they influence it is such a different level, different league. And I think that's what you're facing is I don't need to tell her to do these things, to have more sex. I don't need to tell her to communicate better. She just does, because I'm creating this culture where she buys into that.
That's exactly right. Yeah. I'm not being sneaky. She knows I'm on her team. We're on this.
We're in the same team.
Exactly. And yeah, I want the best for her across the board. And so, yeah, when I have an idea, she's not wondering like, oh, what are his intentions by saying he wants to do this or that? Or, she's just open to a lot more. And so, yeah, the dynamic is just always positive. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I couldn't have expressed that eloquently, but there's a reason why you teach this and I do.
But I mean, there's sorry, I'm getting kind of some allergies here or something. I got kind of itchy throat. I hope it's not COVID, but we'll see.
Hopefully not.
Yeah. But I think this is also a very different way than how most people think about the relationship, think about what it means to have power. Because, if, let's say, for these listeners here who are listening to this and you're thinking, if I am playing this game and I'm making my partner want to be closer to me, that's a tricky, manipulative thing. If you're saying that, I don't think you understand what power means. And I think that's a big part of the problem. It's like you're living in this black and white view of I'm either imposing myself or being a pushover, but you don't see this middle ground, this beautiful middle ground where you can find, like we said, win-wins. It's a win for me. It's a win for her. That's what power means. It's like your ability to create this win-win culture where you and your wife can now say, it's me and you versus the world.
That's right.
As opposed to me versus you, also versus the world. That sucks.
Exactly. We're on the same team. We're in this together. So, it's huge positive. It's a huge win, and it was a huge part of the program, which was just learning what a healthy view of power in a relationship looks like. So, And that dynamic, again, it's hard to express. You even say during the program it's difficult for you to express,
It's
but
difficult for me to express, yeah,
I
because
think you express it very
yeah.
eloquently, and it really is almost the backbone of creating more safety and just a better dynamic and environment in the relationship. So yeah.
Yeah.
Huge.
And the third thing, I think that kind of branches off of this too, Spencer, is you also mentioned this notion of, when you talk about the kids back then, or her wanting more kids and you not wanting more kids, that's, to a lot of people, that's an irreconcilable difference. That's like a difference that causes divorce, that leads to divorce, right? It's like, oh, we just didn't want the same things out of life, whatever it is. But I want you to dive deeper into the conversation that you had with your partner about this. And when you realize, like, okay, she's saying she wants more children, but we always say in the program, the thing is never about the thing. There's a thing behind the thing. If your partner says, I want more children, there's usually something underlying that. There's actually more realistic that you can provide that is not a kid. Tell me what you discovered there. Like, yeah.
Well, yeah, this conversation, well, it's happened numerous times, even since we've been together. But again, it stays positive. But you met there's a part in the program where you talk about the 5 whys, and so we were talking about kids, and she's like, she starts the conversation with, I'd like to have more kids. I've always wanted more. I came from a family of 4 other siblings, so I'm into having a big family. We just have the 2, and you're fixed. So what do we do? And I'm like, okay, well, tell me why. I mean, let's go a little deeper. Like, what is it that a baby would bring to you? Well, I just want a baby because they're cute, they're this and I want to nurture. I was like, okay, and what do you get out of nurturing, and why 5 times? Just go deeper, deeper, deeper. So we would go very deeply, and she's a nurturing person. She wants to nurture, and okay, what if we could fulfill that need for nurturing another way in the relationship? What if,
yeah,
I mean,
it's so beautiful, right? Like, this is what a lot of people don't get. A lot of my friends, Spencer, they're also, because I'm a young guy, and a lot of my friends are still single, right? And they're trying to find their perfect partner, kind of thing. And sometimes, like, I hear the things, the criteria they have about this people, right? Oh, I can't be with this person because they're like dogs. I don't like dogs. I'm like, are you joking? Like, that's why that you can't just talk about that and figure and align on that. And here's the beautiful thing again, right? In the program, we have this chart where we say, if you ever think that your partner's demands, requests, what she desires is unrealistic, is unhealthy. Let's say your partner says here, I want more children. And you say, that's not realistic. If you ever think it's not realistic, it's unreasonable, that means that you haven't found the thing behind the thing.
That's right.
Because once you dive deeper, you realize that all human beings, they want the same things. They want the same things. They have the same needs. And we're all connected by the same needs. And once you understand those needs, like you said, there are many ways to fulfill the same needs.
Absolutely.
Okay, it's like, it's not about the kids. It's not about her wanting more children. This is about her wanting to feel like a full, complete family. Maybe her wanting to play her nurturing role as a mother. Maybe it's her desire to build something of her own and watch something grow. Like, how I like to watch a business grow.
Absolutely.
And once you understand that, you realize it's never about the kids. I don't need more kids. There's so many other ways we can fulfill that. And that's how you find win-wins.
It is. In fact, the conversation wrapped up, at least that particular night, almost identical to what you just said, other than, I'm not going to leave you because we're not having more kids. I'm not willing to do that. And together, and we didn't even find the answer even that night, but together we'll keep working, we'll keep exploring. It's not something we came to a conclusion on, but it is just something we'll keep working and looking at. But understanding where she's coming from and hearing her out, and then getting to the thing behind the thing is just key. And so in that particular case, the kid scenario, uh, again, all from the program, that really benefited me.
Yeah, yeah. And I think a lot of guys fail to understand that. And that's why, like the person I was telling you earlier who's just said, we're not compatible. Well, you're not compatible because you don't know how to understand what your partner really wants. And once you understand what your partner really wants, you realize we all want the same thing and we are all so similar. Like you are so compatible. Most couples are really, really compatible. They just never understand just how compatible they are, which is the big shame. A great example of this too is like when, for example, their partner says to them like I said, their partner brings up an issue that was 10 years ago.
Right.
A lot of guys miss the
I've
point
had
and they
that.
say like,
Yeah.
why are you bringing something up from 10 years ago? But
What's
it's
your
like, no, no, no.
problem?
Yeah. But if you really try to understand what she's trying to say, she's trying to tell you that one, emotions are very difficult things to articulate. And I don't know how to express this to you. And the best way I can express this to you is by looking at something that happened 10 years ago and using that as a reference, as an analogy to what I'm feeling. And when you start to see it that way, you realize, oh, shoot, I understand. I understand why you're telling me this stuff. I understand what you're trying to tell me. I understand how similar we are because I feel the same thing.
Exactly.
Uh,
Yeah. And just last night, we talked about something that happened 5 years ago, 6 years ago. It turned into a big fight, but she brought it up, and so it was like, okay, so, and do you see the parallels between then and then where we were a year ago? It just seems like they're digging up the past, but really they're going through similar emotions that they were going through 5 years
exactly.
ago, and
Exactly.
they're just, yeah, they're having
Yeah.
trouble expressing it. So yeah, learning to dig into those emotions and lean into that is key. It's
Yeah.
been key for me.
The fourth thing, I think that also branches off of this is, I think sometimes the reason why a lot of people cannot find the thing behind the thing and really find the root reasons of what people are saying is they lack what we call in our program the antithetic mind, right?
Oh yeah.
Um, so so from what I understand about your journey, this is one of the biggest takeaways you have about the program is like the antithetic mind and what it really means to embrace this antithetic mind and antithetic life and really use that to understand the world, your partner, in such a deeper level that you can imagine.
For sure.
So tell me your understanding. Describe it to the audience here. Your best definition of antithetic mind. I know it's tough, but yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. What we think hypo, anti, so nature's governing equation, another big term for a pilot. But where the antithetical mind really helps out is it helped me to stop victimizing myself. And why does my wife behave certain ways? Why does she do certain things that I don't approve of or I don't understand? Oh, is it because she's a bad person? Because she's, a loose woman? No. I need to find out why. Well, maybe it's because she doesn't feel safe with me, or maybe she didn't want to, she was sick of me because I had been giving her a bunch of crap over the years, and she's just done and she's checked out and she's looking for something
Yeah.
new. She doesn't know what. But the antithetical approach to looking at things is taking what you believe and what may be your consensus in your mind of why something is the way it is, and instead of viewing it from your view, look at it from someone else's point of view, or looking at it from a different angle.
Yeah.
What was going on with her, and
And I
then
think the antithetic mind to me is also like really crucial if you ever want to grow and learn something, right? We talk about, you mentioned earlier, for example, that was crucial for me to avoid the victim mindset because what you need to do was you need to take your idea of what you know to be true, which is it does take two to tango, that my wife is a stonewaller, that my
right,
wife is a narcissist.
right,
This is your hypothesis about how the world works. And you have to ask yourself, how could I be wrong? Right? You have to admit that your hypothesis has an antithesis. And if you look at scientists talking, they always do that. Here's my hypothesis, here's my findings, but I realize that these findings may not be exactly true. Here's the blind spots, here's what we could have missed, etc. Right? is also approaching life the same way. So this guy, for example, that texted me and says, I don't want to buy the program because we're not a good fit. He was hypothetic. He didn't take the time to say, how could my assumptions here about my partner, about myself, about this relationship, about my own knowledge, about my own deductions, how could that be wrong? He never asked that. And if you don't ask that, you don't ask questions, you don't discover anything new, and you're living the same cycle because you're living with the same knowledge, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And my approach to the program was, I was going to throw out my hypo mind altogether, and I was just going to learn something entirely new. I was like in that scene in Forrest Gump where the drill instructor screams at Forrest, what is your purpose in life? And my answer was to do whatever you tell me, drill sergeant. And that's how I was viewing you. Whatever came out of your mouth, I was just open to it. I was open to all my previous thoughts on ideals on how relationships work were just wrong, and this is a new way to look at it. And it's hard, especially for us guys, because we've had it bore into us over decades of how relationships are supposed to work, how your spouse or partner is supposed to act towards you. And the antithetic mind is another huge portion of the program that really contributed into turning everything around, just looking at things from a whole new perspective. And some of it was hard, but choose your heart, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember it was quite mind blowing for me too when I first discovered things on my own. I was like, this value of this antithetic mind, and I can finally put it on pen and paper what this was. Because often you learn something in life and you're like, I don't know how to articulate this really. I don't know how to say this. But the moment I can articulate it, I was like, oh, this is massive. This is big. Because the other I guess implication of this antithetic mind is also, we talk about becoming water.
Right.
Yeah. So a lot of people, so I'll start with this quote to say, true freedom in life is not about doing what you want and avoiding what you don't want, right? Because that's slavery. You're enslaved by your likes and dislikes. You're enslaved in that tiny bubble. So a lot of people, they go around life and they go to a department store and they say, oh, this shirt is me. This shirt is not me, right? They meet friends. That group of friends is not me. That's me, right? They're trying to define who they are. They're trying to bubble themselves in to say, this is me, what I like, what I don't like, what I can't do, right? That's slavery.
Absolutely.
But for us, we learn to be more like water, to say, hey, I can be as feminine or as masculine as I need to be. I can be extroverted. I can be introverted. I can like whatever the heck I want to like so that I can accomplish whatever I want to accomplish. Another example of this, Spencer, is people looking for jobs, people looking for relationships. People look for jobs and they say, I want a job that fits me perfectly. Well, if you want a job that fits you perfectly, if I said that as a business person, my business would never take off.
Right.
Because I'm like, who I am today is not perfect for business. But if I say, I'm willing to be water and I want to look at what I want to accomplish and I can mold myself to whatever the fuck I want to be, right? That's freedom. That's success. That's power. Same thing in relationships, and I think for your relationship too, you had to change your character, your demeanor, everything about you in so many different ways too. And the antithetic mind was key.
Absolutely. And going back, just last night, I was using this because we dropped the girls off at their cheer practice. And then my wife and I thought, well, let's go have a drink together. And she's like, well, I already told my friends we'd go meet up with them. And, old me would have been like, oh gosh, got to hang out with the old friends, and we're not hanging out one-on-one. But new me was like, hey, okay, let's hang out with them. So let's do it. And so, not being a slave to my likes or dislikes, I sat with them. We had a blast. And then midway through, my wife's like, hey, you want to get out of here? Let's go get a drink, just you and I. And so the two of us went and we got our drink together, just the two of us. And we had great conversation, great drink, good time.
Yeah.
It was actually the perfect night. But that quote, don't be a slave to your likes and dislikes, and instead, do what you have to do to get to where you want to go. That is
be water. Yeah. And for those of you who are listening to this too, I want you to understand the implications, the deep implications of this. Because the first question is like, imagine how many memories, how many experiences you are robbing your relationship of because either one or both of you are too rigid with what you like. You know, what if, for example, I say to my partner, I know you love XYZ, but I don't like that. It's like we can never share their experience ever, right?
Right.
And we can never appreciate the differences in personalities, in taste preferences, etc., if we're not open to that. Like we can't be water. We're so rigid with what we like and what we don't like, you know. And think about also the the things you fail to share to each other, the things you fail to appreciate about each other. I mean, it's just, the implications are so massive about this. I can't even put into words sometimes, you know.
Yeah. It's all in all kinds of levels. I mean, yeah. It's you
Yeah,
can use it on everything, but yeah,
yeah.
that's a huge part of the program as well. That, among other things, does just benefit me tremendously. So yeah, I'm not a slave to my likes or dislikes. I just love using that term too. That's my best. That's my
Yeah,
favorite.
I love it. So I want to spend the next 10 minutes here talking about your experience in a program, I guess. So tell me how, obviously, you explored other programs as well in the middle, and I'm sure before as well. Tell me your experience here. Describe it for people.
So I can't say good enough things about this program, but it's such a comprehensive, rich program with that attacks. You mentioned you do teach, first principles and systems-based thinking, and this program was designed exactly using first principles and systems-based thinking. Geoffrey has done all the work for us, and he has broken down how relationships work and and how environments impact relationships and how we end up in these negative loops that we end up in. And the program just breaks everything down very eloquently. I can't explain it as nearly as well as Geoffrey, but it's a huge, massive program. When I started I had watched the YouTube videos and I thought, what else could I learn? There's so many.
There's so much content there already.
There is so much content. And sorry, I'm on my son's computer and his buddies are calling in. So there's so many levels of this program. And I was just staring at this. When I opened the content, I was just like, where do I go? And you're gonna you teach a mental map and a way to keep track of all this information, which is incredibly important. And so my notes were all going into my mental map. My mental map was extremely detailed. It was too detailed, to tell you the truth. I mean, whatever you said, I wrote down. I mean, I was like, okay, I'm doing this. I was
Yeah.
using my Google Docs, and I was just, everything's going in here, and this is good. Everything was gold. There's so many things that will benefit anybody. I was every module I turned on, I learned something new, and I was able to put it into practice almost immediately. And it was rough at first, but using my daily practices, I
Yeah.
gradually got better and better.
But I think the thing I always say to people is, this program is complex. It's very, very complex. It's so many layers to what you need to learn, master, and a lot of our clients take 6 to 12 months. But the first thing I say is like, okay, if you want an easy program, go buy a $100 program.
Yeah.
That's like 10-minute videos, and you see. Feel free to waste months and years of your life doing that. When you're ready to get serious, come to us again. I encourage you. I don't want you to. I don't want to take your money, kind of thing. The second thing I say to them is, complexity means that there's an opportunity for you to win. Like, imagine if you take a test, and a test was so easy that everyone can get 100. How do you differentiate yourself?
Right.
How do you show that you're smarter than this other guy? But if you take a test that is complex, nobody scores 100, then you can really see who's higher or lower. And the reality is that in life, in relationships, your partner who has a choice is looking. Is this they're looking for the different shaders. And so if you can embrace that complexity, you get to differentiate yourself. And the third thing I say is if this program was teaching you some things you already know, I have failed. If it's not blowing your freaking mind
Right.
and it's not confusing the shit out of you, I've done something wrong. Because then I'm not going like deep enough. I'm not going far enough in trying to get you to change. And I think
Absolutely.
you understood that pretty early on, and that was why like you kept going despite the fact that it's complex.
It's like learning to fly an airplane. There's a lot there. It's hard. And learning this program, which in turn can save your marriage, really, or your partnership. I mean, it's also hard, but divorce is hard,
Right.
passing kids back and forth for the rest of your life. That's hard.
That's hard. Yeah, choose
Choose
your
your heart.
hard.
And yeah, that's
I
out of
love
V.
that.
Yeah, I like the new, and these guys, yeah, all your new clients get version 3, which is really slick. I've just started that, but no, the program was great. It was just a lot of organization of putting things in my mental map and just going through each module, and then I get to practice it daily. And yeah, when I got through it, I actually had to decide I'm going to rewatch this module, this module, this module. Then you've got the Facebook group, and the Facebook group is this huge resource that really benefits, I think, everybody, because now I get to see how other students or my peers are doing along with the same concepts. And I was shocked. I was messing up a lot of concepts along the way, and so I would watch people on Looms, talk to you, and then you'd have to correct them. And I thought, well, I
So
was thinking
Looms,
just
for context, Looms are so basically a lot of our members have volunteered to have their coaching call shared, and so here we get to really see what are the challenges, the difficulties that other people are facing, and how are other people implementing these processes that we teach into their real life, and you can quickly see your situation is not unique, man.
oh, great. Yeah. And I'm glad he's getting yelled at, because I just got yelled at for that myself. I mean, it's just Geoffrey doesn't yell, but you're going to be corrected fairly quickly on the spot. But it is such a learning opportunity to see how other guys, not just on the Looms, but on the Facebook group. And then, of course, you get access to Geoffrey himself. So, when I'm having troubles with the program or a facet of the program or implementing something, Geoffrey spells it out for you, or he can see where you're having difficulties. Just ask him a good question, you'll get a good answer. And it's a very encompassing program. It worked out well for me. Obviously, my wife's back. We're doing really well. I couldn't say enough good things about this program. Except
I get it. Yeah.
I wish I could show everybody this thing, because again, so many people just don't. They don't know what they don't know, and
Yeah,
there's a lot.
and that's and that's the challenge that I have to Spencer is, because like for a lot of people, their idea of what this program could be for them is based on either what they know, based on their experience in other programs, in therapy, whatever it is.
Right.
This is way beyond that, and we're actually thinking about giving people free trials just for people to like experience this firsthand and say like this is the level we're playing at right here, because words can't describe, like there's no marketing jargon, marketing words that can describe like, dude, I don't know why you wouldn't even, this is the lottery, I don't know why you would pass this up.
It's a great product, just like the iPhone was a great product that Steve Jobs came up with. The Tesla's a great product Elon Musk came up with, and Geoffrey came up with relationship revivals. It's that good. I put it on that level.
Yeah.
No joke. I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah. Thanks, Spencer. I know we're at time, but I thought we went into some really deep topics there, and I hope the people listening to this found that really helpful. And the way I see this for the listeners here is, I'm trying to do more of these interviews because this is like 5 YouTube videos roll into one, basically, right?
Yeah.
You get to learn so much. So I hope you saw it that way, and I hope people thought it was valuable in that way. Like this is 5 YouTube videos as well. But Spencer, a lot of people listening to this are probably in the same position you are in the brink of divorce. You are brink of separation, about to lose family. I mean, stakes are high. You have people telling you to give up. You have all this advice running rampant in the market, whatever it is. Final words of advice to these people.
Check out this program. I mean, that would be my best advice. Again, you don't know what you don't know, and start with Geoffrey's YouTube videos, and he offers a master class where you can dive into exactly what the program is and what it's really about. And this video, we probably only scratched the surface, but it's such a rich, encompassing program. If you're looking for real change for yourself in your relationship, this is the answer. This is the answer. I'd scream, I'd jump up, climb a mountain and scream it at the top of my lungs to everybody out there. This is the answer right here.
Spencer, a lot of people will say like, are you getting paid to say this?
No, I'm not.
The thing is, like, people don't understand that. It's like people make assumptions again. It's like, oh, it's because Spencer's going to get a cut of this. We don't give people referral bonuses. We don't give people referral money at all. It's like,
no.
Yeah.
Again, yeah. If this was a crap program, I wouldn't even be here right now. This is a thorough program, and I can't say enough good things about it, because it really has improved my marriage and my life and my relationships, not just with my partner, but with the kids, with coworkers, with friends, everybody. It's just massive, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and Geoffrey's gonna expect you to do the work, but you will see real change, and it's awesome.
Yeah. All right, Spencer. So for people who are wanting to explore more about this program, I'm going to put the link to the masterclass down below this video. You can join that. The masterclass, like Spencer said, will be about an hour and a half. But here we'll teach you basically the system, what will take you through how the program will work, how it looks like, and everything like that. At the end of the masterclass, we'll show you how to apply for the program. We are very selective for the people we choose, because we want to keep the community very positive, very healthy as well. So be sure to fill out the application properly. And if approved, you'll have a call with a member of my team. If that's approved, you'll get access to the program as well. But yeah, hope to see you guys in the program soon, all of you guys. And I'm excited to blow your minds, really. So Spencer, thank you so much again for being here and sharing your insights, your journey. I know it's not always easy to be transparent, about like the difficult things in a relationship, but thank you for being so transparent as well.
I hope this helps,
Spencer. Yeah. Great having you on. I'll see you in the program, in the community, always.
Yeah. We'll be out there. I'll see you all on Facebook or another coaching call. Yeah.
All right, Spencer. Cheers, buddy.
Real good, Geoffrey. Thanks so much.
Bye.
All right, take care.